Welcome to the Jen Cares Powered by Chosen Live podcast, a podcast that brings the community to you. Each week, we feature a guest that will help us stay in the know. We are here every Monday at 8 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to like, comment, and share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, here's your host, Jen Cares.
Well, good evening and welcome to Jen Cares, powered by Chosen Counselors, where we bring the community to you. I am your host, Jen Cares, and the founder of Chosen Counselors, a nonprofit organization that seeks to inspire, motivate, empower, and strengthen individuals and families. As always, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in, for liking, for sharing, for coming back, and all that jazz. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. I want to say special thanks to Dr. Reader for helping us to really look in the mirror last week. If you can't be honest with nobody, at least be honest with yourself. I want to also say congratulations to our Snack Attack Care Package winners. We were able to bless 7 students that attend Carlow University, Morgan State University, Purchase College, Shippensburg University, Temple University, and Worcester Polytech Institute. I am so grateful that we were able to be a blessing to those students. This weekend, we will be packaging up those lovely care packages and sending them on out. Well, this month is Women's History Month. Woo! And today we want to honor Fannie Barrier Williams, known as educator and activist. Fannie Barrier Williams was an influential educator and activist who was a staunch advocate for freed slaves in the South. She spoke at the Women's Columbian Exposition in Chicago in 1893, expressing her concern over the lack of Blacks on the Board of Control for that cultural event. She helped found organizations such as National League of Colored Women, the National Association of Colored Women, and the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. She also supported women's suffrage, and in 1907 was the only African American chosen to eulogize Susan B. Anthony at the 1907 National American Women Suffrage Association Convention. So tonight we honor and celebrate Fannie Barrier Williams. Ooh. I'm so excited for all the things that the women have done in history and what we are doing today. Let's get into tonight's episode. Friends, this month's theme has been March 4th. Whatever it is that you said you wanted to do, what's stopping you now? We are into the year, but we still have time. And guess what? We even still have time in March if it's something that you want to try to do. I know we always say, in the beginning of the year, we do resolutions. Friends, I want us to not give up on whatever dream we have. And tonight we're going to talk about just that, pursuing the dream. Tonight's guest is Darneal Johnson. I met him some years ago and have been blessed by his ministry. Most recently, I was able to, let me show my face for this. He had me as a guest on his radio show. I thought I was going to be a guest, but guess what? I got to do it by myself. I was excited. I'm grateful. I was honored. I've also got to do some podcasts with him and his co-host, and he'll talk about that when he comes on. But help me welcome Darneal Johnson. Woo! Whoop, 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 whoop. Wait a minute, where's my screen? There we go. Good evening.
Good evening. Great to be
How are
here.
you?
I'm great. Thank you for the invitation. I'm honored.
Yes. I'm so honored to have you. Sometimes I feel like I have superstars, chosen friends. We have a superstar here tonight. He's going to drop some nuggets of wisdom to help us to pursue the dream.
Well, with your tremendous guest that has proceeded, I hope I can be of some help, but you've had a tremendous platform, and I want to just commend you for taking on such a awesome responsibility of educating and empowering us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So over here at Jen Cares, we always start with a quote of the day. And today's quote of the day is, I've learned that dreams can be challenging and are always worth the success they can bring. Again, I've learned that dreams can be challenging and are always worth the success they can bring. And that's by Darren Hardy. What are your thoughts on that?
The power it speaks to me of how powerful having a dream is. The poorest people in the world are not people who lack resources, but I
Mm,
always say the poorest person in the world is a person who doesn't have a dream.
mm. The poorest person in the world is somebody that doesn't have a dream. Oh, that's big.
Because the
I-
dream speaks of a promising future.
Mm, mm. So right now it's temporary. I have to have that dream to tell me where I'm going to help push me, possibly.
Your roadmap, absolutely.
Mm. Already good, friends. So as always, friends, I have prepared some questions to help guide tonight's topic. But if you have any questions or comments, be sure to drop them below and we'll bring them on up to make it part of the conversation. So first, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Uh, what do you want to know? I mean, but I always ask people, um, I've lived such a complex life that it's in compartments. And so I got some of your questions. For most of my life, I've been in pretty much all of my life, I've been in ministry and
Mhm.
radio and mentoring and um, coaching per se, and I love what I do. I have to say that I extremely love my life.
Mm,
So I've always been blessed to be in some kind of leadership leadership capacity.
mhm, mm. So what would you say has been your favorite hat that you've held or currently hold?
Well, I think all of them at its season, if that makes sense. At
Mm,
during its season, I enjoyed each and every one of them. And of
mhm,
course, the season has shifted and I am loving the new season. So I would have to be honest to say that in each of those, whether radio, media has always and always probably will be my destiny, whether it's leadership, mentoring, coaching, pushing, will always in some kind of form be my destiny. But as far as the particular roles in their seasons, honestly, Jen, I have enjoyed each and every
mm,
one of them. I've not ever worked in a place and said, I hate this.
mm.
I'm miserable.
You're
I've
blessed.
enjoyed.
I can think of one. I'm thinking, but really, growing up, I was at one of my first jobs was doing telemarketing, and we were calling people. I was like, "This is not for me. I'm interrupting people's dinner time. It wasn't my speed. It was trying to make me last there, and then eventually I left. And then I was good. But it's awesome that you can do something and you can really enjoy what it is you're doing. I also
No,
like the
high school. Okay, so let me retract that.
okay,
You did have to work several places in high school.
okay,
I did not enjoy. So I
oh,
retract that. But
okay,
as an adult, I've
yeah.
always enjoyed. So yeah, let me balance that out.
We'll take it. We'll take it. We'll take it. We'll take it. Awesome. I also like the fact that you said depending on the hat that you had at that moment, it was good. And I think that's important because so many times we have so many dreams or so many aspirations and we want to do so many different things. It doesn't mean that we can't do all those different things, but it's seasons for each and every one of those things. So like you've kind of been fluid in those different positions at different times of your life, depending on which hat was needed.
One of the things that I've always tried to do is discern seasons, and you hit it. Even now, I always try to discern what is the season for what in my life. So I have this plethora of what I call this roadmap, this journey, and
Mm-hmm.
each part of the journey looks different. And I've always tried to live my life in a space of honesty to say that's over.
Mm-hmm.
And whether I've enjoyed it or not, because there's been areas that I really enjoyed
Yes.
and it was over. And I grieved that period and
Mm-hmm.
went on to the next thing. So I guess one of my, um, I guess, mantras have been you got to know when to hold it and you've got to know when to fold it and
Mm-hmm.
you just got to know when to let it go.
You gotta know when to let it go. And I think that's the hardest part. Because in talking about pursuing dreams, right? We have the dreams that we want to do, but we get so comfortable and complacent where we are, where it's like, do
Yeah.
I really have to pursue that? Do I really, should I?
Well, this is a sign too, if I may, that I've always used. And a lot of times this had to happen. So I don't want to act like, oh, I've always been spiritual and discern that. Sometimes I have, but then I've discerned it and not moved, as you said. So what would happen is now the spirit of frustration. I always use frustration as a marker because I understand that when I'm in that middle of that season, in the middle of the wheel, it may be challenges, it may be things you have to work out, but it's not frustration. So whenever there comes a constant frustration, I know, okay, this season is coming to an end. And I think everyone has to discern their mark.
Right.
It may not be frustration, but you have to discern that continual signpost that says, okay, it's time to fold it and it's time to let it go.
Oh, I think sometimes having, last week we talked about looking in the mirror, and it's deeper than just looking in the mirror, and that's that part of discerning, of really going through the pros and the cons of the situations that you're in to know, is this good? Should I continue? I like to use the analogy of, at our job, they give us an annual evaluation to kind of say, is it still working for them? And you have to do an evaluation for them too. Is it still working for you? And I think there's some things in our life that sometimes we need to do that. Is it still working for me? Is it still serving its purpose? Has its season ended? Did I get all that I was supposed to get from it? Did I learn all that I was supposed to learn from it? Because if not, I'm going to have to go around it again. And I don't know if I want to do that.
Well, and you're absolutely right. Did I get, I always say, the reason that I came to this place, have I garnished that? Have I accomplished that?
Yes.
And then my other mantra, and I used to tell our church this all the time. I have a slogan: healthy things grow, growing things change, change brings challenge. So when it is no longer growing, then it's no longer healthy. When it's no longer healthy, then it no longer brings the challenges of growth. And one of the things that I've looked at as far as a spectrum of a dream is, am I growing? Is it growing? Because Jen, a dream is as wide as it is deep. And I'm saying that on purpose, because a lot of times when we talk about a dream, we talk about, omnidimensional, that it's one dimensional.
Yes.
But I can have one dream with many aspects or many seasons to it. So how do I know, and I'll speak for Darneal in this instance, how do I know when a aspect of not the dream, right, but that part of the dream is expired? Maybe it's not growing. Maybe I don't see fruit. Because when I look at kingdom principles, fruit is a product of me being in the right place, doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
In the right place, doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
I'll
I
go
also like when you say, when you got this fish tank behind you, so the waters run deep. I see you with your analogy. I gotta get like you.
No. That's just, I wanted to, I had to match your show. So I
Yeah.
know you're graphic. So I wanted to make sure I represent it, I wanted to make sure.
I also like the part of the growing and the challenging, because I think we like the growing aspect of things. We like that, we're getting more followers, or we're getting more people that's on board with what it is that we're doing. But we forget that growth brings challenges. It reminds me of the Tower of Babel. After it was growing, it's like, oh, wait a minute, with some challenges, because then they couldn't get along, and then they had different languages, then it didn't work out anymore. But why do you think people struggle with the challenge part of growth?
Because it's the part we have to press through. I always say this, and it's a colloquium in where we come from, the church world, or you don't know my story, so you can't, don't judge my glory. I think that we like to be there. We like to be there. The process is a different thing, but I always say that the journey and what I get on the journey of achieving that dream is probably more important than the manifestation. Now, I know that's not a popular saying, but what has prepared me, let's go back to these hats.
Yeah.
To wear these hats is what I've been through, is what I have grown through, is is the journey. So it's not just bishop, radio host, whatever you want to mentor, coach. No, those things are only applicable because of what I've pressed through, the challenging part to get to that part. And in a social media driven culture, people don't put up their challenges. Come on, you're on social media. Most people don't post their struggles or their challenges. Most people post the end result. Most people, post their happy face. They don't post the nights they laid awake. They don't post them crying. They don't post the nights they felt like giving up. They don't post the depression. They don't post the times they were mad with God. Come on. All of that comes into play. So we only know what we see and experience. So if I'm looking at a bunch of successful people that are standing on the pinnacle of life talking about, I've achieved my dream. I tell you, I have 46 businesses. I tell you, you can do it. I tell you, I own 3 Lamborghinis, and that's easy. But now, come on, back. Tell me how you got there.
Right.
I went bankrupt. I got depressed. I almost got on alcohol.
Yes.
That's a different story.
Yes.
Now I know your story, so I can appreciate your glory. I don't mean to preach, but you asked me.
You hit on the nose, because that's it. That's it, because you don't hear that backstory. You just hear all the glitz and the glamour. And it's those pieces of knowing, I failed a couple of times. I like to talk about the brothers from Detroit that created 409 Cleaner. It took them 409 times to get it clean. That's how I got that name. 409 times. You know how many chemicals come together? They about to die in that room because like, oh no, that was a bad concoction.
Wow.
Or nope, that done burned my hand. Oop, that did this. And all the different things that happened. And I appreciate their story because they shared the struggle. How much money you got to put in to try these different concoctions. You using that last bit of something that was the smell that you wanted it to have, but now you need some more coming out of your pockets, and your family like, you probably should get this up. But on a 409th try is when it came. And I think that's the part of, hearing the story of how you got there, that struggle. People don't want to talk about the struggle, but it's the struggle that made me who I am. The struggle is what keeps me on my grind so that I don't give up. We don't appreciate it.
I'm very different, and probably you're like this. I don't really want to hear your success story unless you back it up and tell me the backstory, because I know that real achieving your dreams, your ambitions, it costs you something, and I think we do people, just me personally, a lot of disservice when we simply tell our front story, where we are now. I can tell you from coming out of Katrina, okay, there is a Wake Up Global Networks, but it came through many, without going into them. Coming out of Katrina, coming to the DMV with absolutely positively nothing, feeling like sometime why I'm living. We don't show that part on social media, but all of that was, I tell people this, Jen, that those struggles are your resume that qualify you to stand on that pinnacle. In the regular world, we need a resume, right? If you want to apply for any job, the first thing they ask for is your resume, which kind of gives them your work history, your educational history, and pretty much says whether you're trainable, teachable, etc.
Yes.
Well, in life, there is a resume that we accrue through our struggles, close to suicidal, whatever it may be, close to addicted to drugs, close to whatever it may be, that is the resume. So when you stand in your calling, that dream, that destiny, you have a resume to back it up that says, watch this, I deserve by God's grace to be here. Don't get it twisted. I deserve. Nobody gave me nothing. I deserve to be here. You don't believe me? Check If you can handle it,
Mm,
if it
mm,
won't make you cry, check out my resume.
mm. Whew. I deserve by the grace of God. That was the part right there. Because even in them struggle moments, sometimes you want to give up. You want to throw in a towel. Maybe you did go into alcohol. Maybe you did go into drugs. But by the grace of God, you came out. Everybody doesn't come out, you know? So knowing, who,
Oh, don't stop. Go ahead.
mm, mm,
And that's
mm,
what I tell people when I'm coaching people and counseling people and they're going through very difficult times. I try to encourage them to say, but this is part of your resume.
mm,
This is what's going to qualify you to heal. You have a dream to, say, for instance, serve and minister to, let's say, battered women
mhm,
or abused women. Unfortunately, you know, you couldn't help it. Your situation, you were abused, you were battered. This is a part of your resume.
mm,
So when you stand and you minister, nobody can question whether
mm,
you can speak into their life
mhm,
because you have a resume of the same pain. Often say when it comes to a dream, you can't heal what you can't feel.
mm.
You can't you we can't heal. That's why Jesus was touched with
Yeah.
everything that we, because he's the perfect. But anyway, so when it comes to a dream, Jen, I always say that earn your stripes. And you earn your stripes when you don't tell the front story, but in the right setting and to the right people, you're transparent enough
Mm.
to tell your backstory. Yeah, I did feel like giving up. A matter of fact, I personally I didn't feel like giving up. Let me see, how many times did I give up? You don't have time to know how many times. No, seriously, how
But it's
many
real.
times I've given up? How many times I said, forget the church, forget God.
Mm,
This is too hard. I'm
mm,
tired of this. Let me,
mm.
but every time, that's why I said by his grace,
Yes.
by his grace. Every time I would throw in the towel, he throw it back.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
every time he go, you know.
Yes. Mm. It's so real. And I think this is the part that, our friends need to hear tonight of, you're not alone on those pieces of wanting to give up. You're not alone on those pieces of wanting to throw in the towel. Um, they say don't question God. Me and Jesus have a couple of questions sometimes because I just be wanting to know. He ain't got to answer me, but I feel good getting off my chest and saying, you said, or this ain't happening how I thought it was going to happen. But then I get to the point of saying, not my will, but your will be done. I trust you. You're going to work it out. I don't understand it right now. It don't feel good right now. Everything is going haywire right now, but I trust that it will work out for my good.
And and I think we appreciate when we see the manifestation of a dream. In other
Mhm.
words, I always say that there's a difference, and I won't go into this, between a dream and a vision, because a vision, we don't give ourselves vision. I believe that is birthed in us by God Himself.
Mhm.
But we build off of that vision and determine what it looks like through dreams. So I think the fulfillment of a dream, when we see it come to completion and we've
Mhm.
earned it, I,
Mm.
I see it, and I think that's the thing we miss, that when we've earned it versus somebody handed it to us, it takes on a whole, and you probably can, you built a business, you
Come
built a
on.
successful
Come on.
business, you have a corporation, you've been through the struggles, you have a very successful podcast, and you can really say, other than God, and we know people are sent to help us, but
Yes,
you've
yes.
earned the right to be on this tonight. It
Mhm.
takes on a different flavor when you
Mhm.
say, oh, I've suffered, I've struggled, I, by God's grace, I've
Mhm.
earned the right to be
Mm.
Jen Cares
Mhm.
with chosen counselors.
Mhm.
And you can't take that from me. And I
Mm.
think a lot of times, Jen, that's what's missing today,
Yes.
that we bring and make things so easy. And when things are easy, let's be honest, we don't appreciate them as much. But
Mm.
what we appreciate is what we fight for, what we struggle for,
Mm.
what we contend for. And when we've struggled for it and we've fought for it, and when we've lost sleep over it, ain't
Mhm.
no devil in hell or earth gonna take
Yes.
it from us.
That's it. It's such a difference when you've earned it. Like I could think of a gazillion different things that somebody else could give me. But if I bought it with my money, if I put in the blood, sweat, and tears to get it, I'm going to take care of that thing. Now, again, I take care of things other people give me. But
Yes.
it's also something about when you do it yourself and you know how you got from A to Z, when you was ready to give them, when you was ready to throw in a child, when you thought it would not work out, and then it happens. You cradle that thing like it's a baby. You don't want it to die. Are you hungry? What do you need? You want to keep on nurturing it so that it could be that which you have.
And that's why I tell people, Jen, to minimize criticism in your life. Let me tell you one of the reasons that I can minimize most, not all, but most criticism, and chalk it up to, with all due respect, ignorance. The average person that criticizes us do so because they have no clue whatsoever of what all it took to bring us to this point. I'm convinced that if people had a clue of what Jen Cares has gone through, they would never, even if they didn't understand,
right,
they would never open up their mouth to criticize. And I want to encourage people that are looking tonight and looking at the replay that don't take criticism so personal, because simply what it says, most of it, is I don't know what you've been through, so I minimize your success. Let me say that again. When I don't know all that you've been through, I minimize your success. I minimize your accomplishment of your dream. I minimize your manifestation of the realities of things you've been working for and fighting for. But when I kind of have an idea, there are people that have an idea of what I've been through, and I can't go any further, if I may, without acknowledging your pastor, my friend, Apostle Jimmy Ellis.
yes.
That him, he's one of the persons that has been with me through this whole entire journey. Well, there are several persons like that. They don't minimize. Apostle David. They're people who know what I've been through. They never minimize. But it's the people who like minimize your success. I don't take that personally. That simply means you weren't privy to my journey, and I kind of chalk it up to a little ignorance.
It's so good. It's funny. I visited a church yesterday, and he spoke on Joseph. You know, we knew he had the dream and things of that sort. And I always think of Joseph because, like, in the church world, we have prophecy. So somebody prophesies to you, tells you what's to come and things of that sort, past, present, future. They only see a piece of it, though. They don't see the whole thing. Because if they saw the whole thing, they let you know, look, you about to go through, but you can make it. That sort. Nevertheless, Joseph had the dream, but it was what was to come. But to get to that, of that which he was supposed to be doing, whew, how many times did he possibly want to give up? And it's the same for us too. And they were like, somebody could give you a prophetic word or a word of encouragement. They was like, you're not excited? I've been doing this thing long enough to know that to get there, whew, I'm going to throw in the towel about 50, 11 million times. But then I'm going to get myself together and get on track.
Yes. And a dream, I call a dream, I personally, I separate it because people will ask me, well, what is a dream? I know what a vision is. It's a internal picture of a future reality. So we got vision. Somebody would say, well, what is a dream? It's simply, I substituted for the word a desire. It's what I desire my life to look like based upon the vision that God has put in me. And one of the things that I've understood about a dream is, unlike a vision, a dream, you have to go after a dream. Yeah. You don't have to go after a vision because you birth a vision through prayer and through, all of that. But a dream, you have to pursue. You never hear anybody say that understands this, I'm pursuing my vision. No, we don't pursue our vision, but we pursue is that which I go after. I follow after. Like you said, Joseph had a dream, and the thing that kept him going, the thing that kept him motivated was that dream on the inside. And then the part I love about it, Jen, is in Genesis, when his brothers come clean finally because they minimize his dream because they didn't know his whole road. He says, "Oh, what y'all tripping up? I went through all of that for y'all. I listen, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. I know you meant it for evil, but God sent me ahead of you to preserve a lineage. And if it wasn't for me, you would have died in Egypt because there would have been no Pharaoh to feed you."
Yeah.
So that's what I say about a dream. A dream keeps me pushing, it keeps me motivating. It's something I'm chasing after, it's something I'm reaching for. And I always say a dream is not always spiritual. Sometimes we make a dream spiritual.
Absolutely.
You can have a dream to have a Lamborghini. You can have because he says, delight yourself over in the book of Psalms, also in the Lord, and he will give you the dreams. I say dreams, same thing as desire, the dreams of your heart. So it's not always a spiritual thing. Oh, I want to be this in the Lord, and I want to be, and that's good. But sometimes you want to just have a 10-bedroom house. Sometimes you want to have a Lamborghini in the drive. Sometimes you want to just have a state of peace. I dream of a drama-free, peaceful life. So a dream can take on many forms. There's tangible, there's intangible, there's spiritual, there's natural. So I don't like to pigeonhole a dream as just being something spiritual. A vision is more spiritual, but a dream can take on a lot of realities.
Yes. And I will say too, like dreams, being mindful or being going back to that discernment word, to know that it's your dream. Because sometimes we can see somebody else and it seems all cool and fancy, and we say, "Oh, that's my dream too." Is it though? Really knowing if that dream is the dream that you want for yourself, because you can pursue it. You could, do that blood, sweat, and tears for it, and then we get it and be like, "I didn't really want this." So know if the dream is for you. How can you decide, or how can you determine if that dream is really for you?
I'm gonna give you something that will seem like it's off subject, but you'll probably catch it, and hopefully our listeners and viewers will catch it. He that hungers and thirst shall be filled. How do I know if it's for me?
Oh.
If I'm hungering, if I have a consistent appetite, even when it gets rough, even when the naysayers start. See, and I always use that. That one passage, Jen, speaks to a lot of things, but let's keep it in this context. He that hungers, you can tell when a person doesn't hunger. It's like you said, "Oh, I saw somebody else doing it and it looked cute. I saw somebody else with a podcast. I saw Jen Cares with a podcast. I'm going to try one." Is it your dream? Well, we're going to see, because time is the equalizer. Time is the equalizer. So if I'm really hungry, like take a person that hasn't eaten in a while, they never stop the pursuit of food when you're really hungry. And that can go naturally and spiritually.
Yes.
Nothing will stop a starving person from the pursuit of food. Jen, if it's really your dream, nothing, the criticism, the roadblocks, the no's, the people walking out on you will stop the pursuit. So to answer your question, how can you tell if it's your dream or you just want to mimic somebody else? If it's not your dream, when the road gets rough, your appetite will wane. But if it's your dream, you'll move heaven and hell to make it happen. That's what I believe.
That's good. Because that's it. Like, if you're hungry for it, no matter what comes, hell or high water, you still know I'm pursuing this because this is in my heart to do it. But if you're giving up at the slightest person falling off, maybe that's not for you, because it only gets, as you said, deeper and deeper. To pursue a dream, it's like you're going for gold, and you got to keep on going to get there. It's a fight. Will you stay in it or will you not? But it's well worth it in the end.
if it's yours.
If it's yours.
If it's something that you're supposed or I'm supposed to do. And let me add this if I can, because if I really am supposed to do it, there's going to be a grace on me to make that
Mm,
fight. And
mm,
you don't want to get too theological, but for those listening, so I always say this, and this has been my other mile marker in life. You said, well, how do you know when to transition, hold it, fold it, as we were talking about
mm,
earlier?
mm, mm, mm,
Yes, the frustration, but when the grace lifts.
mm.
That grace is what I call. Have you ever have you ever had a car that had a turbo, like it has this extra kick?
I have not. I have not. But
Okay.
I'm gonna learn from your experience. Come on and share
No,
yours.
no, because when you have a turbo, when the regular uh, energy or the regular
Yes, yes.
motivation runs out,
The,
then you press on the turbo and something extra kicks in. I
mm,
liken that to grace.
yes.
So when you don't have that extra, because when you have a dream, you need grace. And that's one of the ways you can tell. And so for those listening may not know what grace is, let me make it to a sense. It's God's ability doing the work through you. In
Mm,
other words, you don't feel all the blows, you don't feel all the all the pushback. You hear it maybe, but you don't feel it because you're graced to do it. And I
mm,
think a great indicator of what we're supposed to be pursuing is determined by whether I have the grace to go through the knocks and the bruises
mm,
and maintain my sanity and my composure.
mm,
So if I'm supposed to accomplish that, whatever stands in my way, if I have the grace on me,
mm,
I'm supposed to do that. And
mm,
that is God's ability doing the work through me.
mm. Whew, this is good, friends. It reminds me of our first night of the March series. We talked about You're Still Packing. We had Lady Bernadette Mills, and we were talking about how when it's in you to do it, that's the grace of it being into you do. It's just natural for you to do it. The motherly that she had in her, the wisdom that she had in her, it just pours out of you. So no matter what hat you're wearing at the time, if it's in you to be kind, it's just gonna spill out, even when you want to be petty. I mean, you might be a little bit petty, but the
Is that
hope is
what
that
you
the
really
kindness
said?
is
Is that what?
received.
No, people are not petty. But anyway, no.
Oh,
Jen.
but it just comes out of you, and I think that's so important of knowing. With that grace factor too, it's just like it's something that's so natural to you. It's like your inner gifting. I work with some families that take in children that need a safe haven and things of that sort. Everybody's not graced to do that. Why? Because they can't take on the attitudes that the children come in, depending on what situation that child came from, depending on the behaviors that their child has. Everybody's not graced to do that. But there are some angels on this earth that are graced to be able to take in that challenge, to be able to say, oh, that's nothing. It's a piece of cake. But everybody can't do it. So if it's something that you could do that others can't do, they don't have the capacity to do, then you know that they're graced for it. Maybe you're not. But you have other areas of your strong points where you are. It just flows. It's like no big thing. It's some people that can sing. LaShawn Pace, rest in peace. She just passed. But it was just some stuff that had come out her mouth. You'd be like, she was graced to sing. It was
Yes.
a talent that's in all her family. Everybody's not graced to sing.
No.
Everybody's not graced to sing. I'm not going to go out no names of people, but I mean, we know.
Go ahead. Be
Oh,
petty. Call
but
some.
that's but
Go
that's
ahead.
another thing of showing gracing. Some things that are just in you. Some people can hit those notes. Some people can go real low. That's a piece of grace too. It's just in you, and you do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And I think your endurance level, though we all have the endurance of God in it, I think that even your endurance level has a grace to it also.
Absolutely.
Especially the more people you lead, the more people you're responsible for,
Mm-hmm.
the bigger your dream when it manifests, the
Yes.
bigger the bigger everything grows, the more the grace has to grow.
Yes.
And my thing has always been, now this truth, and I know a lot of people may not see it this way. Whatever I'm involved in, I have never wanted to outgrow my grace to function in that,
Mm,
because then it becomes hard.
yes.
And see, I'm not under I'm I am not under the persuasion that life is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Life has difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
Life has challenges. Life has things to overcome. Life can be hard,
Mm-hmm.
but I believe when you're in that grace because you're pursuing that which has your name on it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing. A dream has to have your name on it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's all. A dream. Jen, your dream, chosen counselors, all that you're doing, all the people that you're helping, it has your name. It doesn't have Darnell's name on it. It for you to lift it is different than for me to try to lift it.
Mm-hmm.
You lift it with ease. I may strain my back trying to lift which your name is on because
Mm-hmm.
you have a grace
Mm-hmm.
to lift your dream.
Mm-hmm.
I have a grace to lift my dream.
Yes.
So I always say, I never, whether it's radio, podcast, mentorship, coach, growth, development, don't let me outgrow my grace because then it becomes hard.
Mm-hmm. You said something good that made me think of the importance of staying in your lane too. Because if we're talking about things that have your name on it, just stay in your lane. Some people are like, oh no, I can do this, 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 this. And sometimes it gets burdensome because we put so many things on our plate that we really can't handle, or some things that should never have been on our plate, or we do have the capacity to do it. We have the skill to do it. We have the grace to do it, but it's not for that season. We have to be
Uh,
careful of that too. Come on.
that, that's good. You said, so an aspect of the dream may have my name on it,
Mm-hmm.
but then I have to ask, and I'm sure we've all been there, is this something that I should accomplish for this season? And let's talk about that if I can a little
Yeah.
bit. Because to everything there's and to be perfectly transparent, I learned this the very hard way. I I came out thinking if it was in my spirit, if it was a dream, if it was a vision, I need to go for it.
Mm.
And I failed a lot.
Mm.
And I got very discouraged until I matured to understand, yes, Darnell, that is for you. But there's a season to that. Now, how did I grow to learn when that season was? And it's very simple. It's not deep. It's not very, it's simply when the parts start to come together. When the things begin to come together, then I get an inclination that this is the season to do this.
Mm.
When it's always a strain, it's always a struggle, it's
Mm.
always one thing after another, it's always setbacks, it's
Mm.
always one calamity. It doesn't necessarily mean, those of you that are listening tonight, that that's not a dream with your name on it. But a part of that is to assess the season. Case in point, I went out today, exercise. It was lovely. I had I had on a sweater, I think it was a jogging jacket, yeah. Because the season today was different than when I went out last week. When I went out last week, I didn't have nothing but a t-shirt on because the season had changed.
Mm.
If I would have went out today with a t-shirt with the wind temperature, probably would have been coughing a little bit, would have been a little rougher. So one of the things I've learned when it comes to pursuing a dream is what's coming together concerning this dream. And
Mm.
if I'm trying too hard, it
Mm.
doesn't mean this dream is not a part of my destiny. Maybe I'm premature and I need to
Mm.
just wait a little bit.
Mm. Ooh. We don't like the way we like fast food. We like it right and ready. We want it to be there. Like here it is, and here is birth. We want it to be like bam, bam. You tell me I gotta wait a little bit. What's happening?
Because, and it's not waiting on the dream. It's not waiting. It's waiting on me to grow up
Mm.
into it. One
Ooh.
one passage of scripture says, growing up into Christ in all things. So when we say wait, our traditional mindset is, God making me sit here in a corner like I'm no, that's not the kind of wait. That's
Mm.
not the kind of wait.
Mm.
When we talk about waiting on it, and you were just referring to waiting on it, it's not waiting for it. It's already been given to me. All things have been given to me, life and godliness. So I've got all things.
Mm.
What's waiting is Darnell.
Mm.
What's waiting is for Darneal to develop the character, the
Come
maturity,
on. Come
the,
on.
the forgiveness, because Joseph, pursuing his dream, had to exercise see, I don't know, can I be transparent? I don't
Yes.
know if I could have did a Joseph. I did. I think I may have flunked, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
the Joseph test. But to know that you put me in a pit, and that's probably why I would have had to wait longer than Joseph, that you caused me to go to prison,
Mm.
that you thought that I was falsely accused of being a wife stealer, and
Mm.
I could go on and sold to the Ishmaelites. And then to see those people hungry, ready to die, and send a sack of food,
Mm.
and then reveal myself and say,
Mm-hmm.
don't worry about it.
Mm.
Which means that there was a lot of development
Mm.
that had to take place
Whew.
in Joseph. So, Jen, when we say waiting on the dream, the stuff I'm waiting for, it ain't because God ain't already released it. It ain't because God is holding it back. It's
Mm.
because Darnell still has some growing, some maturing, some discipline. Oh, yeah, some disciplines,
Mm.
some forgiving, some unconditional loving that
Come
he
on.
has to do to walk in that dimension. So I ain't waiting on God, God waiting on me.
Because this maturity piece is big. Everybody's walk of passage is different, and sometimes they think you're supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z by a certain time, and it's not your season to do it because you're in a different season of your life and things like that. Doesn't mean you're not graced to do that. Doesn't mean it's not part of the dream. You're not just to that chapter yet, to that page yet, and sometimes people can rush those pieces on you. Prime example, we always talk about, or people talk about, why are you so single? Why you don't have no kids? Why this? It's not my season yet for that. And if God doesn't allow that season, I gotta be okay with it. But most importantly, am I mature enough to handle it? It's some other things that I'm working on that if I'm working on that and trying to have that, the balance might get off kilter and something's going to lack. And I have to stay in the lane. We have to stay in the lane that, we're purposed to be doing to fulfill that which God wants us to do. Because if I'm not done doing this piece, or I'm not mature enough to be able to do this piece and another piece, something's going to be off kilter. And sometimes that's a part two of that maturity and knowing it's not the time yet. And sometimes we have a lot of dreams, to be that millionaire. It's great, but is it the time yet? Are we managing our finances right? Are we doing what we're supposed to be doing with our money now to be able to handle it? Two, are we in the area where we're supposed to be? We're learning in these pieces of maturing in that pit, being sold, being in prison. We're learning, but we still should be able to execute whatever our gifting is.
Absolutely. And I think that that was the purpose, or it was probably God's purpose, not
Yeah.
men's purpose with Joseph. If you look at the time, he's between his, as you said, his prophecy. And that's why I believe in prophecy. I believe it is the plan of God. He has men and women on earth to speak forth knowledge and future events. So I believe in that. So let me say that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've grown to the point where I don't get excited because I already know. That's just where I've grown to now. I wasn't always there. When
Mm-hmm.
people say, you know what, you're this, or we want to make you this, if it's the will of God, I'll accept it. But you won't see a lot of rejoicing
Mm-hmm.
outwardly in me because I know it doesn't come free. And I know nothing that advances us spiritually or matures us spiritually comes free. That's why you see, let's go this if we can for a minute. A lot of people have conversations about, what is the difference between whether it's in entertainment, whether it's in music, whether it's in ministry, we could pick. But what is it in between the longevity of people who have stood the test of time and those who, what I call, blew in, blew up, and blow out? They come in with a lot of flash,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of hype, and then you don't see them. And they asked a lot of times, well, what is the difference? Um, and I'm not saying those who blew in, blew up, and blew out didn't have a
Mm-hmm.
call, because you can't say that.
Right.
But there's one thing when you, as we just talked about, even in Joseph, when the Bible says, I endure hardness. I don't run from it.
Mm.
See, I notice I think the people, you look at Oprah Winfrey and Tyler, you look at all the people, and it's not like they haven't been scandalized, they haven't been criticized, but they have a principle, whether they're in the kingdom or not, and that is they learn to endure the hardness. A lot of what I see today, unfortunately, is when the road gets rough
Mm-hmm.
and the road gets tough, the
Yes.
tough hits the road. And so when you're talking about a dream like Joseph, I believe one of the reasons he was raised to that second person in Egypt is because when he got rough, Joseph had a word. And the Bible says, and I love this, that the favor of God, wherever he was on Joseph. That grace was on him, like it's on you. I mean, think about where you were just celebrating Women's History Month and all of the accomplishments. I don't think maybe 50 years ago or 60 years ago, uh, a woman of your caliber would have the kind of platforms and the kind of respect and but you all have, and I'm sure there's still sexism and all the things you have to face, but you determine this is my dream, chosen counsels is my vision,
Yes.
and I'm going to endure the hardness to see the manifestation. People talk about I'm manifesting. No, you ain't been in it long enough to manifest because it's more than a word. I tell people all the I'm manifesting. It's more than a word.
Yes.
It's a stance.
Yeah.
It's a stance.
Mm. And it definitely gets hard sometimes. I think another piece I want to talk about is like in pursuing your dreams, sometimes you have wins, sometimes you have loss. And finding a filter in that, it's not, it looks good. You see the final package and things, but the blood, sweat, and tears that goes on to bring it forth is a whole different story. And again, that's that, I don't want to say necessarily struggle, but that learning experience to get you to where you are. So in that, how should one deal with losses?
Now, this is just me. I've adapted a model. The big word today is take the L, right? And so normally when people say take the L, that means take the loss. Well, I've juxtaposed that for my personal life, and I think it's good medicine for any of us. I put I do take the L,
Okay.
but it's not loss. I take the lesson
Oh,
because in that L, I'm learning a lesson.
yes.
So to answer your question, you said uh, sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't, and we all do it. But
Yes.
it's never a loss for me because even in what is termed a loss, if I stay in there, and I always teach this when we're talking about this, I said, if you can look for the lesson in it, even if it wasn't the most positive experience, you may have lost, there are people that invest money who they think stocks or whatever investment is going to
Yes.
go up, Jen, and they end up losing. It's easy to be depressed. It's easy to jump out of the first floor window. But if you can find the lesson, and that takes, again, maturity to say, okay, what am I there's something that I'm supposed to learn out of this. And we sit or we take the time rather than get emotional and get bitter and get blaming, but take the time to find out and I'm speaking to those of you that are listening, those of you that listen to replay, whatever you've gone through and you feel like it has been just a humongous loss, I'm challenging you tonight to turn that around and say, I'm not going to see that as a loss. There was a lesson in this. What was the lesson Joseph was to get in the pit? What was the lesson Joseph was to get when he went to jail? What was the lesson Joseph was to get when he went to Potiphar's house? I think one of the main lessons was how to forgive. So whatever it is, don't perceive that as a loss. We counsel loss, but let's rather say, life is a university, and I'm a student,
Yes.
and I'm taking this L as a lesson. So next time I'll either know what to do or what not to do.
That's so good. And because we specialize in tough conversations over here as well, whatever that situation was, whoever that person was,
Ever.
wherever that place was, whatever that thing was, because sometimes we get into relationships, people, places, and things. It doesn't have to be romantic. It could be a work relationship. It could be a friendship, whatever it is. And sometimes it doesn't go the way that we thought it should. And it's considered to be that loss, but we want to find a lesson in it. So what did I do that could have helped it? What could I have done to help it to be a little bit better? Where are the areas of growth that I need? Because sometimes we get into another situation and have that same test come back and we didn't learn the lesson from before. So like, no, I'm going to stand up for myself. If it's something where somebody's taking advantage of me, I learned my lesson. Now I have to speak up for myself. I have to say, no, this is how it should be, or no, it can't be that way, or no, I don't like that. And sometimes people are fearful of doing that because we don't want to hurt somebody else's feelings, but then we're hurting our own feelings. So in taking that lesson, sometimes that person that walked all over us, that job that treated us, that didn't treat us good, or we didn't treat them good, or we didn't show up on time like we were supposed to and we lost the job, what was the lesson? Go to work on time, go to bed on time. So again, in all aspects of life, take that lesson.
If you want to look at it, if you want to come out of this having being better, anybody can be bitter.
Yes.
Anybody. I mean, it takes no. I mean, we all have issues in life, right? I mean, we all go through. We all. I'll and I know sometimes I make people mad. I say nobody has a corner on being betrayed.
Mhm.
Nobody has a corner of being lied on. Nobody has a corner of being used. I think that happens to most individuals that
Yes.
come upon the earth. What differentiates those of us who go through this is whether we get bitter because we
Mm.
see it as a loss, we see it as abuse, we take the time to blame, or we take it as a lesson. You know what? I saw that red flag. Next time I see that red flag, I'm gonna be more careful.
That's
That's
it.
my fault because I saw the warning signs. See, but then that takes maturity to do some introspection.
Mm.
That takes maturity. So I believe you can overcome and achieve any obstacle to achieve any dream if you
Yes.
take that loss into a lesson and say, and it might not be very visible at first. You may have to go back and contemplate the whole
Mm-hmm.
scenario
Yes.
and say, bam,
Yes.
that's the lesson. Here it is. I trust too easy.
Mm.
I trust, whatever it is.
Yes. And that's important because I know some people in relationships, some people they feel like once I get out of one, I gotta get into another, gotta get into another one, and we don't learn a lesson to help us to be able to stay in it a little longer. Or we didn't see God, whatever it is. God bless. So really taking that time as needed to heal ourselves as well as we explore what that lesson should have been. We don't do that. And it's funny that you said the red flags because I was reflecting this weekend and I was like, God, help us to be able to see all the red flags we're able to point out for other people that we miss in our own lives. Because on social media, we're so quick to say, oh, no, she shouldn't be with him. He shouldn't be with her. Or they shouldn't have did them like that. Oh, I would have did this. I would have did that. And then it be happening right in our own camp and we blind to it.
Yes. Yes.
We miss
Yeah.
it. And I say, God, help us. Help me. Maybe I was like, maybe I should post and say, help me, because I don't want nobody to think I'm coming from, but I am. I want God to help us all so that we can be careful to not just always see it in somebody else and miss it in our own section, in our own part of our lives. And it's like, how can I see the speck in somebody else and miss that beam that's in mine? That beam is pointing out to see them because we got something in common sometimes.
Yeah. And the closer it is, the harder it is for me to
Mm-hmm.
see it.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
further it is, the easier. And that's why I always say it's very easy to criticize or to point out other people
Mm-hmm.
because you have the whole spectrum.
Yes.
But when it comes to us, we
Help.
don't have the 180, the
Mm.
180 spectrum. And that's where healthy relationships, in my opinion, come in when people can speak into our life
Mm-hmm.
and help us to see those areas so that we can be better. And I believe this, Jen, And I really appreciate again the opportunity to have this conversation with you
Yes.
in your platform and all of your listeners. That uh, a, a dream, the healthier. Let me say it like I always and I've experienced this in my life. That the healthier, and I think we get this from Joseph, I become, and the more whole I become,
Mm-hmm.
the more my dream grows and blossoms. I think it's impossible to have a healthy dream and a unhealthy dreamer.
Mm.
I think the dream, the desire, and I have to grow on the same frequency
Yes.
in order for it to be a blessing. Because ultimately, well, anyway, that I'll stop there because I could go into the purpose of a dream. Because when we think of dream, a lot of times we think of self-consumption, that's
Mm.
mine, and we do get the enjoyment because
Yes.
the water hose does get wet,
Mm-hmm.
but the water's not for the hose.
Come on.
It's for whatever is watering.
Come
But
on.
the hose can't help but get wet.
Yes.
So I don't think a dream, and that's the other part we could talk about. It's
Mm-hmm.
not because I hear so many times my dream, and maybe it is conceived in us, but I'm not convinced because Joseph's dream
Mm-hmm.
was not for Joseph's
Mm-hmm.
total consumption. Remember, he
Yes.
announced the dream.
Yes.
Oh, I came before you
Mm-hmm.
to preserve.
Mm.
So everything I saw, the sun, the moon bowing down to me, and they didn't understand what that was. It wasn't for me.
Mm.
It was ultimately for you. Now, did I get wet?
Mm.
Yes. I
Yes.
became second in Egypt.
Yes.
Yes, I had authority there, but ultimately it wasn't for me. And that's what and I think that's the unhealthy part of talking about dreams. When you talk about what I.
Mm.
Yes, I'm going to enjoy it.
Yes.
I'm going to realize it. But
Yes.
I believe ultimately it's to help make somebody else's life better and expose them of what a quality of life can be about.
Mm. Oh, so good. Two more things. Just tell us a little bit about wins. How often should we celebrate wins? Does that be a big win, small win? Because even in pursuing, we get ahead of a little bit, be like, hey, we did that, or we're coming along, or we're helping somebody if that's part of the dreaming things. So, in what areas should you keep yourself motivated by celebrating the wins so that you keep going forth and pursuing that dream?
I have a weird stance on that, and I'm not sure everyone would embrace this. But to speak to what you just said, I have a mantra. I never allow my highs to be too high and my lows to be too low.
Mm-hmm.
I try to stay right in the middle of the road. So
Mm-hmm.
when I do win, of course I'm grateful, but I don't go off the meters with it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I take those lessons, I don't go off the meters with it.
Mm-hmm.
So just from my perspective,
Yes.
as you asked, I kind of go the middle of the road. I don't let the highs be like off the charts, and I don't let the lessons be in the pit. And that way, I kind of stay balanced, whatever state I find. But the other piece is, I think it's okay to celebrate small wins with dreams. I don't think you have to have this great, big victory, Super Bowl win.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of people they get off at.
Mm-hmm.
They wait for the Super Bowl to
Yeah.
celebrate. No, you caught a pass for the very first time this season. Celebrate that.
Yes.
That's major.
Mm-hmm.
You missed a pass. Don't go into depression. Find out what I did wrong and how can I be better
Mm-hmm.
next time.
Mm.
That's my opinion on that.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Stay in balance because it also keeps you humble. Because you get too big headed off of your win, can you still continue on doing what it is you're supposed to be doing? Or are you too big now? Oh no, I can't do this beneath me now.
That's
You
right.
know. So one is stay humble in.
That's why give me the coach
Mm,
over the cheerleader.
mm,
I don't want to get into that. Give me the
mm,
coach over the cheerleader.
mm,
Don't gaslight me.
mm,
Train me.
mm. Give me the coach over the cheerleader.
Any day. If I don't have a cheerleader that says, go, Johnson. You can, don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to be out there with that and not have a coach to pull me on the sideline
Mm.
and help me with instructions on how to run a touchdown. Give me, and I say this, and people give me the coach any day. See, and most people, they rather have the chip, but we call it now gaslighting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, encouragement,
Mm-hmm.
motivation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down for it. But give me that coach that's gonna pull me on the sideline.
I
Say, do
love
you know, Darneal, why you missed that? No, coach, why? Because instead of having your hands, I'm just giving it
it.
like
Yes.
this.
Yes.
You had them like that.
Mm.
Next time, try catching it like this instead of cuffing it.
Mm.
Like, I'll take that any day. Because now that's self working on self. The
Yes.
other, you're just trying to keep me amped until I can figure out what I'm
Ooh.
doing.
And that's good because essentially it's like having that mentor, having somebody that has the eyes to see what's going on the field, is knowledgeable of how to handle things on the field, but has the eyes to be able to say, hey, this is what you're going to do next time and support you in that. And it's so important to have somebody that you can glean from, that you can be accountable to help you also stay on that right path. That's good. Give me the coach any day. Don't need the cheer.
And we love cheerleaders. So I don't
Yes.
want anybody to think because there may be cheerleaders. So I'm not down, but I'm saying for me, just for me,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm going, what I'm trying to accomplish, I need the coach
Yes.
over the cheerleader at this stage of my journey.
And I like it because the coaches you want the coach to always be there. The cheerleaders are there sometimes, not all the time. But it's that coach that's there when you're practicing. It's that coach that's there when you're training that's helping to really get you. That's good. Mm. Okay. What is Wake Up? Wake Up Global Networks. What is Wake Up?
Well, it is I'm gonna put it in layperson's terms.
Mm-hmm.
It is a a organization that is dedicated simply to equipping, and that takes on various forms, generations for success. Jen, over the years, God has allowed us to connect with a lot of people in a lot of different areas, whether it's media, whether it's leadership, um, name them. I mean, really, without exaggeration, um, God has that part of the journey,
Mm-hmm.
that part of the process has allowed us to connect with a lot and maintain those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And in the process, I have learned a lot. And my life's calling is to push upcoming leaders, not just up and coming, but assist people in achieving their dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So, Wake Up Global Networks, among several things, is a leadership solutions nonprofit where we partner with people that are making life better for others.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we ourselves use our sphere of influence, whatever that may be, sow that into person's life so that they can achieve and accomplish what they desire to. It's a community engagement organization
Mm-hmm.
where we partner with schools. We're in the process now of, I would say, purchasing. I'll use that word. Acquiring. Let me use that word to make
Mm-hmm.
sure I'm accurate. Uh, um, iPads for some students in the schools that we partner with who
Very good.
have no ability to get online, which a lot of the work is done. And then we want to be able to train leaders internally, the leader in us, as well as for organizations. So you says, I have a business, I have leaders that are coming on and they need to be trained in XYZ, whether it's protocol, whether it's um, customer service protocol. So we are equipped to do most of that. So that's just a little bit about what Wake Up does. And it has a spiritual component in that. We're always pointing people to the source of everything that lies within them, and that is God.
Very nice. I love it. Friends, if you feel that you are a leader and you need some coaching, it sounds like they got what you need over at Wake Up. So go and check Wake Up, Wake Up, Wake Up Out. Check them out because again, that's the big part too. In marching forth, sometimes you don't know where to start. Why not get that guidance from a coach? I'll be a cheerleader, but he can be your coach. So check him out and see what services he has that can help you ignite that leader as you pursue your dream. What's something that you want us to walk away with?
It's going to be simple. Never quit. And I know it's a cliche. If you believe God put it in your heart, fight, do whatever you have to do, but never quit. There comes a point after the struggle, after the intensity, that I promise you, you will get a second win. You will get the breakthrough. But the breakthrough only comes through your perseverance of never quitting. You got to almost have it. I'll be with Jesus before I'll quit.
So good, so good. I mean, you dropped so many nuggets. I can't wait to watch this back, to get some more notes and, to retain the wisdom that you shared.
Thank you for having
So
me.
many
It
good
was a
things.
privilege and a
Thank
pleasure
you so much.
to be on your
Y'all be sure
platform.
to follow Wake Up. They are doing some amazing things, got amazing podcasts, sharing some different information as well, for leaders. So his podcast is geared towards some leaders, but he also talks about some other topics, got some good ones coming. As shared, I had the pleasure of going on his podcast a couple of times. I can't wait till this one drop with him and his peer and things, because it got interesting. I'll let my friends know when it does come out.
And that's coming up actually this week, the end of this week. And I hope
they're ready for it.
Yes, I hope y'all ready for Jen Cares. I hope you're ready for Jen Cares.
Look, we had a ball. We had some real life conversations because that's what we're all about, and it's all in love to be able to help somebody else. So again, I thank you so very much for joining us this evening. Until next time, thank you. Oh, that was so good, friends. We had Darneal Johnson. Oops, wait a minute. Darneal Johnson was so good. So grateful that he was able to join us on tonight. I hope that you really enjoyed all that we shared about. Don't forget our quote of the day. I've learned that dreams can be challenging and are always worth the success they can bring. Friends, dreams can be challenging, but they are always worth the success they can bring. I want to also say congratulations again to our winners of our Snack Attack Care Package. Students from Carlow University, Morgan State University, Purchase College, Shippensburg University, Temple University, and Worcester Polytech Institute won a care package, and I'm so excited that we're going to be sending those packages out this weekend. Be sure to join us next week as we will have Jeremiah Chase for Unpopular Opinion. Now, if you know what an unpopular opinion is, you already know that we're going to be in here acting a fool, talking about some things that's unpopular. But guess what? Sometimes unpopular opinions are true. Sometimes they're facts, and we're going to talk about them on next week. Hey, check out what we got coming up for April. You coming back? I hope so. Check it out.
Well, hey there. Jen Cares is back again, and we invite you to tune in for the April series, Music of My Heart. Now, we know every month is special in its own way, but this series is not only a tribute to music, but it's to honor the queen that birthed Jen of Jen Cares, the late Ada E. Harris. So won't you join us for this beautiful musical tribute beginning on Monday, April 4th, as we will welcome David Winslow for our I'll Always Love My Mama episode. Then join us on Monday, April 11th for our Isn't She Lovely episode with Aaron Harden. Be sure to tune in on Monday, April 18th, as we will have Anthony Jefferson for our Count on Me episode. We're going to close out on Monday, April 25th with our One Sweet Day episode with Tamika Bird. Be sure to join in on Facebook Live or on YouTube by searching Chosen Counselors on Mondays at 8 p.m. Don't forget to mark your calendar and tell a friend, as this Jen Care series is brought to you by Chosen Counselors.
that's going to be fun. My mom's birthday is April 1st. So for the month of April, the theme will be in honor of her, Music of My Heart. She was a musician. So we're going to talk about music and it's going to be fun. I want to say, let me also give y'all a shout out, another shout out. This weekend, Mama Wanda, our number one mama of chosen counselors, Jen Cares, since day one, honored me as a fearless female. And I am so, so truly honored. I'm so, so grateful. I'm staying humble in it, as our guest just said. But thank you again so much, Mama Wanda, for honoring me as a fearless female. I am truly grateful. And it's funny because someone reached out to me. It was like, you didn't tell me you was getting awarded. And, I didn't tell anybody. Or I told people, but I didn't tell them where it was. And it was funny because the key thing that the Pastor Jackson said in his sermon on Sunday was talking about how some blessings are coming your way and it's only your name on it. You can't give it to nobody else. And sometimes some wins you want to celebrate by yourself because you're so grateful. You're so grateful. And to me, that was a win that God saw me, said, you're doing a great job. Keep on going, keep on going. And it was all about me. I enjoyed the service. I got what I needed. God blessed me. God touched my heart to encourage me to keep on going and doing what it is that we're doing tonight. So I thank you all so very much. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Malika, for joining in. Y'all be sure to take the lessons. All right? Not at all. It's a lesson. Be sure to learn that lesson that we have to learn from whatever, situations we're going in. We also want to again honor Fanny Barrier Williams, who is our Women's History Month honoree. And again, I thank you all so very much for tuning in. I love you all. That's all I have for you. Until next time, join us next week. I love you all for real. Till next time. Bye-bye.
Friends, we thank you for joining Jen Cares this week. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Unable to watch us live? Be sure to find us on your favorite podcast platform. You can also visit our website, chosencounselors.com. That's chosen with a Z, so that you can stay in the know and most of all, never miss a show. If you found value in this episode, we'd appreciate you sharing it with a friend. Most of all, be sure to tune in for our next episode next Monday at 8 p.m. right here as we specialize in bringing the community to you.